He doesn't what?
Turn his mic on.
Mr.
Yes.
Garish, can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, that's why it's Mr. Wong. Okay. Sorry, we're going on to the development variance permit application. So please go ahead.
Perfect, great. So I do a PowerPoint presentation. And let's see. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. And similar to before, just let me know if you're if you're seeing my note slide, but otherwise I will go ahead and get started. So this is a development variance permit application for the property at 11705 Olympic View Drive. This property is zoned small scale multi-unit residential, and it is just over 1,000 square meters and currently sits vacant. In this case, the applicant is proposing to construct a retaining wall, which you will see on the screen here. That's outlined in various colors just because there are various elevations that I've shown as well on the slide. Essentially, the retaining wall would have a fence on top of it, which would span along a portion of the northerly and southerly parcel lines, and that would be located towards the rear of the property. Now, the height of the proposed wall, as you can see from these elevations, does vary throughout, with the northeasterly corner of the proposed retaining wall being 1.9 meters in height and 3.13 meters when you're taking into consideration that fence on top of it. The southeasterly corner of the proposed retaining wall is 3.03 meters in height and 4.26 meters when you take into consideration that fence as well. With respect to relevant zoning provisions as it pertains to retaining walls, the maximum retaining wall height allowance does differ based on whether the retaining wall's within a parcel line setback or outside of a parcel line setback. So within a parcel line setback, retaining wall can only be up to 1.2 meters in height, but if it's outside of a setback, it would be 2 meters in height max. The zoning bylaw also sets out maximum heights in situations where you have a retaining wall with a fence on top. So if it is located at the parcel line or within 1.2 meters of a parcel line, combined, they can only be 1.8 meters. And so because there are portions of the proposed wall which would be over height, both within and outside of a parcel line setback, and the wall would also include a fence on top and is to be sited within 1.2 meters of a parcel line, variances are required to each of these provisions in order to proceed. So when we take into consideration retaining wall height variances, it's important to understand why we regulate this by zoning. For the most part, the regulation of retaining walls is in relation to mitigating any visual impacts of large imposing walls and to avoid creating any potential traffic or safety impediments from a vehicle sightline impact and theft standpoint. So now kind of getting into more of the context of where this property is. This property is located within Dividend Ridge, which is a residential subdivision that is characterized by hillside development. And a number of parcels within this neighborhood actually contain hazard lands that are in the form of steep slopes, steep being slopes that are with grades in excess of 30%, and these are delineated within the town's OCP bylaw under map 12. And I've just included a snippet in this slide of Dividend Ridge. So with this in mind, it's not uncommon to see the use of retaining walls within this neighborhood in order to provide for more buildable lot area. This property is also in an area, as I mentioned, this property does have steep slopes on it, and that largely impacts the rear of the property. And I've just included some photos in this slide, with the top photo showing a view from the rear of the property looking up towards Olympic View Drive. And the bottom photo shows a view of the slope that's relative to the property to the north. So as you can tell, the proposed wall would therefore be seen to address a topographical constraint that exists on the property. I've included another image which shows essentially retaining walls and their usage within the general area. As you can tell, a number of properties in this area do utilize retaining walls, including the properties to the north, which have a continuous wall. The applicant has indicated that the wall would align with that northerly property. So in this regard, the proposed wall is seen to be in keeping with the existing pattern of development and character of the area and isn't likely to impact adjacent properties. Additionally, as mentioned, the wall would be located towards the rear of the property and therefore unlikely to impact the overall streetscape as you're viewing the property along Olympic View Drive, but because it would be sited towards the rear and it slopes kind of down as you go towards Pebble Beach Drive, the impacts would most likely be felt by those who have properties on Pebble Beach Drive, as that's where it would be the most visible. However, we do note that a number of properties on Pebble Beach Drive also do utilize retaining walls as well, so it's not completely out of character in this particular area. So with this in mind, we are asking for council's direction as to whether or not to approve or deny the development variance permit. And in light of the comments previously mentioned, we are recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duong. I know that we've had a couple of letters of concern sent in, and I assume that you would have read those as well. Is there enough of an oversight on building these walls that the people who are below them should be feeling comfortable?
To the mayor, so if this development variance permit was issued, the applicant would be required to get a building permit, and as part of the building permit application process, the applicant would need to typically retain a geotechnical engineer in order to get a wall that's built appropriately.
Thank you very much. So, Council, go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You mentioned it will line up with the wall north of the property. What's the real rationale of needing it higher than the one next door?
Go ahead, Ms. Duong.
To the mayor, I don't believe they've really addressed the wall in relation to the southerly property. However, yes, as you've mentioned, they do address kind of aligning it with what's already existing to the north.
I know, but my question was kind of the height. Why are they needing higher height if you got 2 or 3 properties to the north all have the same height?
To the mayor, I believe what happens is, so if you had noticed in the pictures, I believe it slopes kind of downwards as you go towards the south, just a bit there. So that's likely why you see the variation in the retaining wall heights.
So then if the wall was built and we allow it to go higher, would it still only be even with the ones north of town, north of the property? No, sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Duong. Do you
Yes,
know?
and the elevations that have been provided, it would just align with what's north.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone else have a concern? Okay, could we have a motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Poturica.
Thank you, Your Worship. And move option 1 at this time, that the development permit to allow for the construction of the overheight be approved.
Retaining walls and fences at 11705 Olympic View Drive. That's great. Thank you very much. That's been moved. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Chong is seconding. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Duong. Now we're looking at the council indemnity bylaw, number 1345. Is that Mrs. Colson? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue of compensation to elected officials for travel to and from meetings and conferences was raised after the 2025 Union of BC Municipalities Conference. Many of the elected officials spent the better part of full days traveling for the conference, and much of the travel time was spent working. The council indemnity bylaw was clear in allowing elected officials compensation for attendance at the meetings or the conference, but silent on travel time. As such, the bylaw has now been amended to clarify the language and include compensation for travel time. So the report in front of you today recommends council's consideration of first through third readings to make that amendment.
Thank you very much for clarifying that for all of us. Okay, any questions about that? Would somebody, yes, go ahead.
Okay, Madam, I just want to make sure I understand it right. They allow 100 a day for being out of town, and the 600 is for traveling to the event?
Um, No, through the chair, the 600 is for 6 days. It's 100 for a full day and $50 for a half a day.
So the conference was 5 days and we did travel, didn't we?
Well,
Or there was, yeah,
I
so that
kind of
was, yeah.
read it back in history, but it just sounds like it's 600 on top of the 100 a day, the way I interpret things.
No, the 600 was just for that particular
Very good.
instance,
Okay,
and it
that's
was the total.
Yeah.
The bylaw refers to $100 a day and $50 for a half day.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone who would like to make first, second, and third readings? Councillor King?
Because I'm not involved.
Okay, Councillor Chong, you seconding that? All in favor? Thanks very much, everybody. And we will now look at reports from committees of the whole, from the committee of the whole meeting this morning. We have a motion that the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1375.11 and the zoning amendment bylaw amendment bylaw 1395.12 be initiated. And so could we please have a motion to do that? Councillor King, Councillor Poturica, all in favor. Thank you very much. So we will now look toward a report from the CAO. Go ahead, please, Mr. Risling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so a few things going on in community services. On January 24th was Family Literacy Fair that was held at the Sonora Center. So it was a great event. They had bouncy castles there and storytelling and tattoos, all kinds of stuff. TGIF is continuing. January 9th was a show. It appears as though the attendance is starting to go down, and so staff are going to be looking at some additional activities to keep our youth active on the weekends. Last weekend there was a tournament under 18 tier 2. 8 teams participated from even from the US. That's great to have involvement again, not only from Canada but from the States. That's great for our businesses. We also have under 9 tournament coming up here very shortly. It's going to include again teams from across the BC, which is fantastic again for our businesses and also our local teams. And the following Saturday at the Sun Bowl, it'll be home to Sugar and Spice, all girls, under 7 and under 9 tournament. And there's going to be a skills competition as well. So there's lots happening at the Sun Bowl. And just another reminder, as we're enhancing our communications to our residents and businesses, we are doing more surveys, plans to potentially do one just about every month. And the one that's open right now is the metal storage containers, also known as sea cans. Just a few days left on that survey. So if you haven't responded, please do so. New businesses, we have the dojo, and that's a martial arts business. And on the positive side, the town, we were successful in the grant application for $200,000 to initiate a Fire Smart program. So we're really happy about that. The Fire Smart Community Funding and Supports Program is administered by the Union of British Columbia Municipalities and is funded by the province. So we really appreciate the provincial help in making us a safer community. And as well with this program, we're working with the RD West to ensure that our program's aligned with the region. And from the fire department, they attended a family fair at the Sonora Center, and and they continue with public education programs. And operational services, you probably noticed the Christmas lights have come down, and I've talked about this once before. As council and some of the public's aware, we received a grant a couple of years ago with regards to flood mitigation, and we have, you might see some of these blue blinkers on new kiosks. Basically, it's elevating some of our electrical boxes that is controls some of our pump stations, and they're becoming flood proof. So if you see those kiosks being lifted, they look a little strange, but it's keeping everybody, I guess, safer in the event of to be able to use our utilities if there is a disaster in the area. And one more announcement, and I made it this morning, or the mayor also made it this morning. We have a new fire chief, Everett Cook. They started with us yesterday, so we're pleased that he was able to join a team. And again, just a shout out to the fire department, our two deputies, Hadama and Ryan or McCaskill or did a fantastic job. And as well, whenever you have somebody vacant from an operation, everybody else has to pitch in as well. So the fire department as a whole and all of our volunteers, they did a lot to keep things rolling. And I think I appreciate it, and the community appreciates it as well because they continue to do fantastic work for us. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling. So could we please have a motion to receive the CAO report for information? Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. Now we will go on to council reports, and first off is Councillor Chong.
Thank you. Attended the South Okanagan General Hospital fundraiser on Saturday. Just wanted to give a huge thank you to both the Asus and Oliver Rotary Clubs for planning, and also Spirit Ridge for hosting another great event. Yeah, I mean, we raised a good amount of money. The auctioning was pretty entertaining. It was pretty entertaining. And we happily supported and bought 3 suture kits. So if anyone uses them, you're welcome. Hopefully you don't though. Aside from that, it's been a pretty quiet 2 weeks. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poturica.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I think my report will kind of echo Councillor Chong's. It's been a quiet month, but yes, on Saturday did attend with the rest of council and staff. The Rotary Winter Gala, and again, a really good cause. As we know, the South Okanagan Community Medical Foundation is in the process right now of a $2 million campaign aimed directly at enhancing services at South Okanagan General Hospital. And we know that for far too long, it has struggled with staffing issues, and that ultimately has led to more than our fair share of closures. I think 30 over this last year alone. And these improvements will enhance patient care, as well as provide some housing opportunities for medical professionals. It will provide ultrasound for the first time at SOGH, which will save about 2,500 trips a year right now for patients in all of our SUs who have to go to Penticton for diagnostic work, as well as finally update probably, I think it's Interior Health's oldest X-ray unit. I think it's the only one that still is not digital, which again will help patients and users of the hospital. So a really great cause. They're moving ahead. They've had some really good success since they launched that campaign in September. And again, those improvements are impacting both us and Oliver in a positive way. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Back on the 15th, I attend the Accessibility and Age Friendly Committee. They're very excited to move forward with new ideas this year, how we can improve the town for accessibility. Also on the 23rd, I was on a Skype call with MLA Wilson Donegal, the chair of the Accessibility Mike Style, and the director Davis, to discuss how we could move forward the pier or the dock, you say, at Haynes Point. And she's going to look in to see how Parks and Rec could maybe put it on their list of things to look forward to do. And as mentioned earlier about the fundraiser Saturday night, a great event. I encourage anybody that uses it, think about donating, whether it's $100 or whatever you can afford, and thanking both Rotarians to pull it together, along with Spirit Ridge as a sponsor, and Canadian Tire also the lead sponsor there. So again, kudos to them.
Thank you. So as number 4 on the list, I was also at the event, and it was really good. And I won some of the silent auction items, which is wine. So I was quite happy to take those home with me. So I have been at a couple of RDOS meetings over the last, well, since Christmas anyway. And at the last meeting, we discussed the hospital budget in quite a lot of detail because the Interior Health gives us a report, the RDOS officers, and they tell us what things are needed at the various hospitals and healthcare units within the RDOS. So they have a list from Penticton and Princeton and SOGH and Oliver and so on. Anyway, there was quite a long discussion about all of the items, and the RDOS, all of us, pay 40% of the total cost of the projects that are brought forward. So we had quite a discussion about that and had all of these projects explained, and we asked questions, why is this necessary, that type of thing. One of the new items that's on the list this year is $100,000 project on strengthening rural primary care recruitment and retention. And so Division of Family Practice in Penticton came and gave us a report on that. And they're using some of the funds for rural recruitment, marketing, and community profiles, tours and municipal engagement, rural locum and trial of practice incentives, digital presence, and ongoing outreach. And we certainly know that SOGH and the group of physicians and community members, of which Councillor Chong is a member, from Oliver and Asuyas, have done a lot of those same things. It was interesting that according to in the executive summary, that typically 4 to 6 graduates come and train in the Oliver Asuyas area every year. And according to this, 90% of the residents who train in the region stay in the region. So I thought that was a little bit high, but I'm glad to hear that. And so I know that we have several people in helping the doctors in both Oliver and Asuyas right now, students and family residents, and they're doing a great job, and they obviously seem to be appreciated. So that was added on to the it's quite a lot of money. I can't remember, but you will see it on your tax notices because you always have something on there for hospital. I believe it's something like $15 more than it was last year. So of course, there's always a bit of an increase. I was also at the art gallery the other day, and they have a People's Choice Award this year. They're not doing a poster. They do that they've done it for a couple of years, and this year they're doing it differently. So I went in, and there are an amazing array of projects, of metal sculptures, of paintings, of just people that have done crochet and woodwork and that type of thing. It's worthwhile going in to have a look. And everybody who goes in is allowed to vote for their favorite artist. And so I said, I was there on the first day, and I said, well, I'm having a difficult time choosing one. So if I came back every day this week, could I have another vote each time? And they said no. So unfortunately, that isn't allowed. However, it's well worth it, and I would suggest that anybody who's wanting to look at the number of artists that we have in our community, you'd be blown away. And some of them are here as people from all across Canada, and they're here as snowbirds, and they enter into this as well. So that was most interesting. I think it's on until the end of the week, and then they're going to announce the winner for that. And while I was reading the paper and reading the Times Chronicle online and Castanet and so on, I noticed that there are many, many local events on in town during the months of January and February. There are, of course, bingo events in many places. There's dances at the Elks, at the Senior Center, at the Legion. Anybody who likes dancing should go to those. And also there's some special dinners on. I know that I've seen quite a few of the restaurants holding special dinners. So there's lots of things that people can do at this time of year when it's a little quieter. Although the fact that we have so many snowbirds in town from all across Canada, they bring a lot of energy to this and they help get things started. So, go out, look in the paper, look online, and enjoy all of the things that Osoyoos and the area have to offer. And that's all that I had for today, so I will entertain a motion to terminate. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor.